Hi, welcome to the bathtub. We're doing a few readings from my new collection, The Millennial's Guide to Death. And I'm just reading a few of these out loud because some people were foolish enough to ask me to do it. So now they're stuck with it. And here I'm going to do I'll do a couple more over the next few weeks or so. So if you want me to hear somebody witter on about other people's books, I'm not going to do it this week. But I will get back to doing the pointless wittering very soon. This is a story called Divorceville. It was started shortly during my I went through a horrible divorce in England, the worst country in the world to get divorced in, and it's about the good and bad things about divorce. Okay, Divorceville. From the moment he unpacked his sparsely furnished studio at Lone Star Apartments and took a brisk walk to the nearest bar for a tall scotch, Skip Danmeyer loved everything about Divorceville. In fact, it was the sort of place he'd been looking forward to all his life. The way some people look forward to heaven or an ocean cruise holiday are one of those golfing by the sea retirement communities for people who, unlike Skip, actually liked golf. This is better than leaving home and going to college when I was 18, he told the bartender at the Divorceville Bar and Grill on Main Street. For the first time I can remember, I'm free of every commitment I ever made, and nobody can make me do anything I don't want to do ever again. My parents don't want to see me. None of my old friends are talking to me, and even my kids hate me, since it's supposedly my fault that what the world considered a perfect marriage was, in fact, little more than a well-orchestrated illusion. But most of all, I'm finally free of that stupid 5-bedroom house that I didn't want to buy in the first place, along with all the leaky plumbing fixtures and cracked tiles I could never keep properly repaired. Hell, the only thing I've got left is my stupid job, and I probably won't keep that much longer on account of my drinking. Finally, it's just me against the world and living life one day at a time and carpe diem and all that. Do you hear where I'm coming from, pal? Hey, what's your name anyway? Or can I keep calling you pal? This may be my first time in your fine establishment, but I'm planning to be a regular. The bartender was a short man with oiled back gray hair, a gray goatee, a heavily starched white shirt, and a single stud gold earring. He was checking off items on a clipboarded itinerary and expending brief, scowly glances in Skip's direction. Most people call me Chuck, the bartender said. He paused to re-examine his list. And I should probably mention that you're not the first divorced guy who's come into this place full of beans. In fact, overly optimistic guys like you are practically the only guys we serve. It's got everything, Skip explained to his best friends from the office, Ken Simpson and Roger Holbeck. There's this one main room with a sofa bed and TV, and this desk over here which I can clear off and use as a dining table when I eat. And this hot plate, and this microwave. There's even this old-fashioned radio alarm clock that I can listen to every morning, since I always get a kick out of those guys in the morning news chuckle hour. The guys in the morning news chuckle hour used to drive my ex-wife crazy, but now I can listen to them any time I want. Anyway, there's plenty of beer in the fridge and some cheese and pimento stuffed sausages we can pop in the microwave when you're hungry. So what do you guys want to do? We can either watch TV or listen to the clock radio. It's totally up to you. The best part about moving to Divorceville was witnessing the minutely focused expressions on Ken and Roger's faces as they leaned into the glowing mini-fridge for their Budweisers, as if they were selecting the sweetest-looking grapes from an ambrosia-laden picnic basket. They resembled two guys who had been dreaming about these particular Budweisers all their lives. Gee, I don't know, Roger said. Do we have to do anything? Can't we just sit here and enjoy our beers? Roger had 2 jobs, 3 daughters, and a wife who, at last count, was simultaneously sleeping with 4 of their neighbors. He hadn't looked this happy since his mother died and left him her Pontiac. Meanwhile, Ken had held up his can of Budweiser, as if to toast the uncurtained, car exhaust streaked window. It reminds me of my dad's place when I was little, Ken said distantly, only that had a swimming pool. It's amazing how great it is to be alive, Skip thought, especially when you're being alive in Divorceville. Well, this place would have a swimming pool too, Skip replied, removing his beer from the fridge, but it got closed on account of a fungus. Some days, Skip would take a sports magazine to the local coffee shop and read it for hours over a small, regularly refilled cup of black decaf. Or on Sunday days, sit with his colorfully segmented USA Today newspaper on a public bench outside the recently shut down post office. He loved the fact that public spaces in Divorceville were indistinguishable from private ones, and nobody spoke to you unless you spoke to them first. I can see why people never want to leave, Skip told Susie Hatteras, who operated a bicycle-driven aluminum soup caddy that mysteriously appeared in different locations every day like a Microsoft publicity gimmick. You get up when you want, go to bed when you want, and eat any goddamn thing you want. It's all up to you. Nobody tells you to get a job or stop eating so much candy, and nobody treats you like a freak simply because you sit by yourself on a bus bench talking to street vendors or attend afternoon double-feature matinees with a bottle of Jim Beam and a jumbo-sized bag of barbecue-flavored potato chips. That's because Divorceville residents aren't judgmental, Susie. They don't have any stupid preconceived notions about what being normal means, or how you should look when you're being normal. They just want to be left alone with their solitaire apps on their cell phones or their private addictions to whatever helps them pass the time, like pornography, alcohol, Netflix, medically prescribed marijuana, or painting miniature soldiers in the bathroom. In her late 50s, Susie wore tie-dye t-shirts, jeans, and complicated strands of jangly, inexpensive jewelry that looked like stolen glass-cased exhibits from a high school geology exhibit. Well, honey, she said, folding down her awnings and fixing them in place with rusty steel clamps, finding your true path is an undervalued commodity in this crazy world, so enjoy it while you can. Personally, I'd just like to finish finding mine before I get much older and start picking up serious diseases, because while living in Divorceville may be more fun than it looks, dying in Divorceville is probably worse than you can possibly imagine. They only got the one hospital here, and it closes at 6 on weeknights and isn't even open over the weekend since the people at Cinnerdine took over. Now, if you're finished with that cream of asparagus soup, I need to wash the bowl and get home before my program starts. My program's coming into the final episodes of its penultimate series about these various characters who moved to a place called Divorceville, only it's not the same Divorceville as our Divorceville, but a different sort of Divorceville entirely. Which is, I guess, what they mean by the term poetic license, being that we like to recognize ourselves in the stories we watch, but we don't like to recognize ourselves too much. Especially when faced with the prospect of dying in a place as beautiful and terrifying as Divorceville. But good things never last forever, Skip soon realized. Good things should last forever, but they never do. The first handwritten letter he received after moving to Divorceville said, "Dear Dad, this is me, Stephen, your son. Robert and I are writing this together, but I'm doing the penmanship. I only got a B in penmanship, but that's still better than Robert's penmanship. He only got a C-. As we understand, you should still be coming to open houses. You should still be attending sports days and glee club. You should still be helping us with homework and talking to us about growing to manhood and that sort of stuff. You can even bring us over on weekends, and we can take turns sleeping on a fold-out cot. It's part of the deal. I've enclosed this book I bought at Barnes & Noble entitled Just Because You Divorced Her Doesn't Mean You Divorced Them. It's a wry, down-to-earth account of post-separation anxieties and relationships. At least that's what it says on the cover. Your sons Stephen and Robert. P.S. Mom has a boyfriend named Fred Silvertones. I'm serious. Silvertones. That night, Skip couldn't focus on an old episode of Mannix long enough to figure out how anybody could have a name like Mannix, or why somebody wanted to kill one of his old army buddies. Most of the characters were indistinguishably handsome and beautiful, wearing spotless suits and dresses, packing automatic weapons and high-tech gadgets that could see through walls or detect people breathing from several blocks away. Stephen and Robert, he thought, turning down the volume on the TV with his remote. One is 14, the other 12. One has blonde hair, the other doesn't. One plays baseball in a little league, the other one... Skip wasn't sure about the other one. The other one might not be into sports at all. I never thought of myself as an errant father, Skip told his first date in 16 years at the Divorceville Bar and Grill. In fact, it's amazing how completely it slipped my mind that I even was a dad. Divorceville does something weird to your brain. Back in Marriagetown, I performed all my fatherly duties. I ran a sales booth at the PTA school fair, drove the boys to judo and tonette classes, and took the youngest boy back and forth to some sort of weekend knitting camp. Honestly, I don't know what that kid's about anymore. But these days, I never think about things like sports clinics or knitting camps. I just think about sleeping as late as I want and eating unhealthy things for breakfast, such as bacon and eggs or waffles with syrup. Eating unhealthy breakfast is one of my favorite things about Divorceville, but hey, I've been droning on. Here is like our first date, and all you did was ask how I like living here. Well, the short answer is a lot. It's life before Divorceville that keeps causing problems. My life before Divorceville isn't going very well at all. The name of Skip's first date in 17 years was Sally Almaro, and she was from the West Coast where, she told him, it never rained as much as it did in Divorceville. Dating in middle age, Skip soon realized, was a curious, exhilarating, and often bemused state of existence, like starting a new job where you don't know what you're supposed to do and nobody will tell you. Every Tuesday and Thursday, they either went to dinner at the Mexican-style restaurant on Main Street or to the Cineplex on Main Street. Afterwards, they went to Skip's dumpy apartment or to Sally's slightly less dumpy apartment and made love on pieces of furniture that their exes hadn't been willing to make love on back when they were married. They slept over at one another's apartments. They took turns doing the dishes. They investigated travel destinations and discount hotel sites on the internet. They finished each other's sentences even when they didn't understand what those sentences were trying to say. They looked forward to every moment alone in the bathroom. And eventually, once they stopped trying to imagine what life would be like after one of them went away, it felt exactly like being married. And then they did it. They got married. I vow, Skip said, to live with you in Marriagetown until one of us fades away. I vow to do my share of the housework. I vow to make breakfast on alternate Sundays. I vow to treat your two daughters, Thelma and Louise, with all the love and respect that I would lavish on my own children. I vow to keep up my share of payments on the mortgage, the HOA fees, the property tax, the utilities, and any other bills I may have forgotten. I vow to take you to a movie once a month and to dinner twice a month, and every so often I will even take your daughters to dinner or a movie, but not both on the same night. I vow to buy a dog for your next birthday, and most of all, Sally. Skip took Sally's hands across the wooden podium, looked directly into her blue, possibly green eyes, and tried to establish the authenticity of this moment that exceeded all the moments of authenticity they had previously shared with their exes. I vow to be your partner in sickness and in health, and all the other stuff in between. Amen. Life grew gentler, firmer, and smaller all at the same time. They bought a house and arranged a mortgage. They had children. They left old jobs and acquired new ones. They went on package holidays, sometimes with their kids, sometimes with each other's kids, and sometimes with all their kids at once. They enrolled at a community college. They learned to dance. They joined a dinner club and explored a series of restaurants featuring a variety of international cuisines. They assembled photographs and photo albums and digital photos in digital photo albums. They attended school plays, school concerts, and school graduations. They sold their old house, bought a new one, sold that house, and bought an even newer one. They forgot how to dance, took another community college course, and learned to dance all over again. They discovered things in the basement that they didn't remember buying. They forgot how to dance all over again. That was it. They were definitely going to stop dancing. They stopped going to restaurants. They lost interest in everything except what they saw on TV. Whenever Skip found himself gripped by the midweek blues, he took a bus out to Divorceville with a packed lunch and a bottle of Evian in a nylon sling over his shoulder, and listened to old standards on his noise-canceling Bose headphones. Frank Sinatra singing My Way, Tony Bennett singing I Left My Heart in San Francisco. Sarah Vaughan singing Misty. Frank Sinatra singing My Way Again. Skip had never felt much affection for Frank Sinatra, Tony Bennett, or Sarah Vaughan, but every time he heard them sing, he felt blessed with the silent conviction that they felt affection for him. And at this point in his life, Skip would take any affection he could get. As the roaring engine carried him away from the tidy, well-apportioned streets and lawns of Marriagetown, the reputable-looking passengers were replaced by other, less reputable-looking passengers. They wore mismatched shirts and slacks, skirts and blouses. Various tears and slippages in their clothing revealed awkward patches of hair. As individuals, they seemed strangely disarranged, like newspapers discarded on public benches. The bus hit sudden potholes, veered in one direction then another. The streets grew dark and inhospitable looking. Checks cashed anybody, Stay Bright Liquor, Community Bank, Healing Arts Therapy Karate School discount. Like images coalescing out of the darkness, the world slowly returned to dimensions Skip had known all his life. A friend of mine moved to Divorceville in the late 90s, a man said in the seat behind Skip, and he never stopped talking about it. The food's really cheap, he said. The bar is off a happy hour all day long. There are 2-for-1 double features at the movie theaters, and they show all the big Hollywood movies you missed the first time around. The motel vending machines are all broken, and you can usually buy like 20 or so candy bars on the same quarter. Then, when my friend returned to Marriagetown, he never mentioned the place again. It was like Divorceville never existed. The guy created a new set of kids, worked 2 jobs, suffered a stroke, now he's dead, and it always made me wonder, If Divorceville is such a great place, why didn't he go back? How can you love a place so much and just give it up? It doesn't seem right. Skip wasn't sure how long the man had been talking. He was afraid to turn around. A reflected image in the window suggested that the man was wearing a long-sleeved blue cotton shirt like Skip, but his hair was longer. Eventually the bus stopped moving. A sense of dislocation settled around Skip until it achieved a state of semi-permanence, much like the shadows, the windows, and the empty seats. "Hey, buddy!" the heavy-set bus driver called from the front door. Then he gave a Herculean yank to a large lead ticket dispenser that broke free like a bulky gray robot baby from its mother's robot womb. "You getting off here? Or you waiting for someone to take you back to Marriagetown?" What a good question, Skip thought. That's Divorceville from The Millennial's Guide to Death. Okay, take care.